What is going on, AFC East Roundtable? Yeah, you got that right. Patriots Global coming at you. First time hosting on the AFC East Roundtable, and you know it isn't going to be the last time. So right away, why don't you just drop in the comment section below how much you want Patriots Global to host, because it's going to be a fun one, guys. Today we are talking about the tight ends. I got a preview of these tight end lists already. It's going to be a good one. You guys are going to want to stay tuned for the full thing. But before we hop into these lists, guys, make sure you do the AFC East Roundtable a giant favor, not just by following and subscribing to this YouTube channel, but all of our individual channels will be linked in the description box below. But of course, liking this video right now, guys, it goes such a long way with the YouTube algorithm. It takes less than a second. It's free. Go ahead and just smash that like button right now. But guys, tight ends, we're breaking it down. We have a list on not everything at this point, but pretty close to every single list at this point as we're breaking down each position with our rankings. There's a playlist for that, so make sure you guys go check this out. But without further ado, guys, let's just hop right into it. Dan, let's pull up your rankings for the tight ends first and go ahead and break this one down for us.
We have to. I mean, right before we hit record, we were all talking about that all of our lists look relatively similar, because I feel like that the tight end position is pretty stacked in this overall division. We do notice an absence of one particular team. Sorry, TD, but you ended up sending over one of your best offensive players to the enemy and the New England Patriots. And I'm very excited to see what Gesicki can do in New England. I mean, really, when it comes to the Patriots, like, they are a damn tight end team. I mean, even looking back into the Rob Gronkowski days, the Aaron Hernandez days, rest in peace, of course. But now with Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry serving as tight ends, I think that Gesicki is a massive upgrade from Jonnu Smith. I think that he is going to go out and be one of Mac Jones's number one targets. I wouldn't be surprised if this man has a 1,000-yard season going into 2023. I expect a lot of production, especially since when it comes to the receiving core, with the Juju being number one, I think Gesicki is going to see a lot of targets, and hence why I see him absolutely blowing up in production for that team. He's been in the league for a while, still has his youth to him. Big guy, big threat out there. He is there. Dawson Knox, I see him being at number 2, and the only reason why I don't have Dalton Kincaid at this number is because he's a rookie, right? All of this hype we can surround around Dalton Kincaid, and I even need to humble myself, because yesterday during the first days of OTAs, in Buffalo Bills land, I was salivating at Kincaid's ability to sort of shift his hips, route running, his ability of attacking the ball. He looks good. It looks like the hype is about to be lived up to, but we're not going to know until about 3 to 4 weeks into the season. Dawson Knox, incredible blocker. For some reason, Ken Dorsey decided not to utilize him as much, especially during the first half of the season for the Buffalo Bills. I'm expecting Dawson Knox to be implemented a bit more, hence why I have him at number 2. Hunter Henry, this guy as well, I wanted to see more from him last year. I think that he is going to complement Gesicki very well, but I think he's going to be the second tight end option for that team. Nice little mixed bag, have him right there. Mr. Kincaid at number 4, but this is pending. Hopefully he'll be able to skyrocket up this list by midway throughout the season. And then number 5 is a Tyler Conklin for the New York Jets. And we all know that Aaron Rodgers loves him some tight ends. So we'll see exactly how that falls in 2023.
All right. Any thoughts here, guys?
None.
None. TD doesn't like the list very much, huh?
Oh, no.
You wrote the list.
Yeah, I mean, I have the exact same list. No. I actually don't. We're a little different, Dan.
You are a little different.
So Dan, I don't have an issue with your list. But this is my list, and I want to be honest with everybody. This division, our tight ends all sucked last year, okay? Let's just call it what it is. We have a weak tight end division, but we know who the king of the division truly is. And that's Mike Gesicki. Unfortunately, in Miami, we did not utilize him properly, and that is the only reason he sucked. The rest of them just sucked because they were teams tried to use him and they just didn't pan out. But Gesicki just got the raw end of the deal in Miami. He's not a great blocker at all, but he is a weapon just as good as any wide receiver. So he is the most dynamic weapon, in my opinion, in the division right now. Hunter Henry is number 2. You got to go off of his history. Again, we all of our tight ends sucked last year, but Hunter Henry, if you ask me, believe it or not, even over Mike Gesicki, has had the most solid career so far, all around, just in my opinion, at least. And I think that he's rightfully so at number 2. I just feel like at this point, Gesicki is better than him. So kudos. Now, Hunter Henry is with who now?
In terms of,
he's with the Patriots still.
In terms, so Hunter Henry's still with the Patriots. Did you mean like offensive coordinator or teams?
No. I thought they were talking about potentially moving him this offseason. I wanted to make sure he was still there.
No, yeah, he's still signed, but Mike Gesicki and Hunter Henry are both in contract years.
And I think that this is what's wild about it. Mac Jones has 2 security blankets, and just having Mike Gesicki is even going to open it up for Hunter Henry even more this year. I'm interested to see how the Patriots offense turn out with that connection, because Bill loves his tight ends. All right. Number 3, the division sucks when we're putting a rookie on the list. When we're putting a guy who hadn't even played a snap in the league on the list. And at the end of the day, I just got to call it what it is. Just his college talent alone has me putting him at number 3 in this division. And with the potential to be the top guy if he just comes out and gives us a amazing season with Josh Allen. At least he has a quarterback who can help him, produce in the first year. That still ain't saying much, so don't get happy. But number 4, Dawson Knox. I ain't gonna lie, he wasn't even great to me this year, but it was his best season in the league, which a lot of people don't realize. It wasn't phenomenal, but it was his best season in the league so far. So he still has some longevity of consistency to move up the list. And last, I put Tyler Conklin, but he's a trash pass blocker. Conklin is pretty horrible. Yes, he was a no. The last 3 years he's been a trash pass blocker, Richie. He really has. Before that,
I thought you were saying blocker because of the run blocking. He's not trash.
Oh no, pass blocking, he's pretty trash.
Yeah, he doesn't pass block, so we don't really care about that.
Yeah, but
we don't use him in that role.
Well, they obviously do on occasions, and he's exposed. But Tyler Conklin, I put on there, and honestly, the last spot can go to many people, But I just
that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful, and I'll tell you why when I get to my list. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh!
All right,
oh, I'm done.
You're done. All right. Oh, any thoughts here on?
Yeah, just the Tyler Conklin disrespect, but we'll get
into
that.
Why?
Well, first of all, I mean, you're making it seem like Tyler Conklin's stats don't line up with literally everybody on this list. Literally. Go back it up. Everybody on this list is in the same conversation. He basically had he had a better season than Mike Gesicki, by the way, last year. He had a same exact season, better season than Hunter Henry, better season, pretty similar season to Dawson Knox. So, don't make it seem like Conklin's all the way at the bottom.
Hold on. So you're going to say that he's better than Mike Gesicki?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, don't make it seem like Conklin is this bum when he put up better. I mean, Mike Gesicki if you look at the numbers, had a trash year last year, but we're all putting him at number 1. So
yeah, but at least he has context to his. We didn't even use him in Miami. We barely even targeted him, and we know that. Before that, go look at Mike Gesicki's numbers. We know what he can be if you just make him a threat. But having Tyreek and Waddle, it was no room for nobody else.
No, yeah, I'm not discrediting Mike Gesicki. He's my number 1 tight end as well. But I'm just saying, from a statistical standpoint, last year, we'll see. We'll save it for my list.
Well, with that being said, how about we just roll right into Richie's list?
Oh, how about that?
How about that? I'll let you go before me. I'll take the back seat as the host today.
All right, boom. So we got Mike Gesicki number 1. And yeah, I mean, Mike Gesicki's number 1 because I guess he's been the most consistent. And last year he wasn't utilized, and now he's with the Patriots. I expect him to have a big season. But as you can tell from this list, I think Hunter Henry is a little overrated, in my opinion, which is why I put him at number 5. And I'll get into that. But Dalton Kincaid, I have at number 2, actually. And this is more projection. I know he's a rookie, but I think the Buffalo Bills are going to utilize Dalton Kincaid as a big piece to their offense to the point where not just a tight end, but as a weapon. And I think Dalton Kincaid as a rookie is going to go out there and provide I think he's going to be the number 2 target in that offense next to Stephon Diggs, in my opinion. And I think that with Josh Allen and that, pass first heavy offense, Dalton Kincaid has a chance to be elite immediately. I just have that, based on his stats, based on, other tight ends coming out there and looking good right out of the gate. I think Dalton Kincaid has a really good chance. And I look at it from Dalton Kincaid, I think is going to have a better season than Dawson Knox. I think is going to have a better season than Hunter Henry. So I'm projecting it for this season. I think he's going to be way more involved. So that's why I have him number 2. And Tyler Conklin, I have him at number 3. I mean, he's an all-around tight end. I mean, this man last year for the New York Jets with terrible quarterback play. And now, don't forget, we now have Aaron Rodgers, who is a tight end friendly quarterback who loves his tight ends. We're talking about a player last year in Tyler Conklin who put up 58 catches, 552 yards, and 3 touchdowns with crappy quarterback play. And you look at what Hunter Henry did last year. 41 catches, 509 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Dawson Knox had similar numbers, 48 catches, 517 yards, 6 touchdowns. I definitely think in a system with Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett that prioritizes tight ends, I definitely think Tyler Conklin has what it takes to make an impact and be one of the better tight ends in the league in this division. I don't think he's going to be a top tight end in the NFL at all, but I think that Tyler Conklin, if you look at what he did with the Vikings before he came to the Jets, his first opportunity to be the number 1 guy after Irv Smith and all his players went down, he stepped up and he had 61 receptions with the Minnesota Vikings, 593 yards, averaging just under 10 yards per catch. And I think that he's more of that receptions and yards guy. He's not really a big red zone threat. But he's really good at, he has reliable hands and he's a really good run blocker as well. So I think Tyler Conklin is going to be better than both Dawson Knox. And I think better than Dawson Knox in my eyes because Kincaid and Knox, you got Kincaid that's going to get the majority of the reps. And then Hunter Henry, you look at his stats last year. I think now Mike Gesicki's involved in the conversation. I think that Hunter Henry is, he's consistent. He's a veteran. He's done it year in, year out. And I just don't really see Hunter Henry really being anything crazy. And again, it is number 5 on this list in my opinion. But yeah, I think again, going back to the Jets real quick, the system that they're running with Aaron Rodgers, the fact that we have Aaron Rodgers is the reason why I'm projecting Tyler Conklin to have a good season for the New York Jets last year, based off what I saw from Conklin last year with crappy quarterback play, with a quarterback that does not even look the way to the tight ends. And we saw Aaron Rodgers make any tight end with the Green Bay Packers look good. And I think that's going to continue into the season.
Interesting. So kind of my big thought about this one is probably Hunter Henry for me. Now, I think you broke down everything very respectfully in the terms of I definitely see the perspective on what you're saying. And I do think that probably all of us maybe underrated Conklin a little bit. And you came in here and you put some respect on that name, which straight up, you got to put some respect on Conklin. And I didn't realize that he was going to be as valuable to the Jets until Richie started talking about him. So maybe he's someone that tries to go a little bit more up on my list, but it wouldn't be by much. Just in terms of Hunter Henry here for me, I just can't see him being number 5 at the end of the day. So you look at what happened this past year, right? The entire Patriots offense was horrific. You had Kendrick Bourne, who was almost a 1,000-yard receiver in 2021, take a gigantic step backwards. Even in the game against the Bengals, where there were injuries, and he was pretty much our number 1 wide receiver and broke off for over 100 yards, they continue not to play him because he was in the doghouse. Matt Patricia didn't know how to utilize. He's a defensive-minded coach trying to run an offense. He didn't know what he was doing. We didn't have any players that could do anything in terms of yards after the catch. The Patriots, one of the worst teams in the league in terms of yards after the catch this past year, and they kept running plays that were starting behind the line of scrimmage. Of course, you're not going to be successful. So with that being said, clearly, the Patriots offense took a step back, and Hunter Henry was part of that. Now, the reason that I'm kind of projecting him to have a better season this upcoming year is, one, because you have Bill O'Brien coming in. Bill O'Brien, and I'll talk about this when I get into my rankings, loves his 2 tight end sets, loves 12 personnel, and he's going to run that a lot more than Matt Patricia did, who has no clue how to run 12 personnel. The other thing here about Hunter Henry, which is why I'm projecting him at least early on in the season to have a better season. One, he's in contract year. Is he going to be back with the Patriots? Is he not? I don't know, but players that are always in contract year are always more motivated to play better. So go ahead and chase that bag, a year from now as we head into the 2024 offseason. But at the same time, too, you look at what the Patriots did this offseason. They got rid of Mac Jones' number 1 target. They got rid of the guy that has led the Patriots in receptions and yards and has been that consistent go-to guy in times of need, whether it was Cam Newton or whether it's been Mac Jones the last 2 seasons. That was Jacoby Myers, and Jacoby Myers is not here now. Now, a guy like Kendrick Bourne, he could step up, but at the end of the day, he was in the doghouse this past year. There's still rumors, is he going to be traded or whatnot? So if Kendrick Bourne is not able to take that role as that reliable guy, at least for like the first half of the season, so Mac Jones can build the rapport with those other new guys, that guy's going to be Hunter Henry. Mac Jones and Hunter Henry have a very, very good connection. In 2021, he put up over 600 yards and 9 touchdowns. That was Mac Jones' go-to guy in times of duress, his go-to guy once they reach the red zone. And I think they're going to scheme it up better to get him more involved. I know Mike Gesicki's here, and you might say, well, that's going to take some things away from him. But at the end of the day, they're going to be running a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets. That Mac Jones connects with Hunter Henry is already going to build upon itself. But there's also something that a lot of you guys might not know about Mike Gesicki and how he's going to be utilized, but I'll wait till I get into my rankings for that one. So I do think there's a little bit of respect that should be put on Hunter Henry's name for the season.
Yeah, and the reason why I put Hunter Henry number 5 when I did my research, I just based it off of what I saw last year, and I was, when I got to the bottom, when I was between 4 and 5, Dawson Knox just had a better season than Hunter Henry did last season statistically from pretty much every single category, to receptions, to yards, and touchdowns. And they both, the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots, added a tight end to go over Hunter Henry and over Dawson Knox, and Dalton Kincaid and Mike Gesicki, both kind of very similar tight ends actually, both receiving threats of Gesicki and Kincaid. So I just based off of what I saw last year that Josh Allen fell in love with Dawson Knox as his red zone threat. I mean, Dawson Knox had 6 touchdowns last year and 9 touchdowns the year prior, and then Hunter Henry did not. I mean, Hunter Henry had a couple touchdowns and wasn't as productive. So
2.
I think that Hunter Henry isn't no bum, but I definitely think that you brought up a great point with the Bill O'Brien joining in, running more 12 personnel sets, having 2 tight ends on the field at the same time. I think Hunter Henry will probably have a more productive season this year for the Patriots. I could see that.
So with your reasoning, Richie, I'll agree with Pat's Global. So I alter mine too, and you did put some respect on Tyler Conklin's name. But I would say him and Dawson Knox would flip-flop. Now, if we were going off of Raw last year, then my list is just fine, okay? In my opinion, because Hunter Henry is better than Knox and Tyler Conklin. But if we're talking about going for a projection, my list is still fine with the exception of swapping Conklin and Dawson Knox. And here's why, because Dawson Knox, they're about to start phasing him out. They don't want to eat $15-16 million of cap space a year for the next 3 years. They got to deal with it this year, but that's the year where they play Kincaid and Knox. But Kincaid will start to take over that role and be the guy. Dawson Knox will be traded. No, he'll be cut because nobody's going to want to pick up their salary of $15-16 million. So he'll probably be cut with the post-June 1st designation next year. And so that they can have dead cap of $3.5 million per year. So they're going to phase him out. So I can understand Conklin moving up the chart, especially having Aaron Rodgers here now, but I can't put him in front of Hunter Henry going forward. The yard per catch is a major difference, almost 3 yard separation. And Gesicki being there doesn't do anything, in my opinion, but make Hunter Henry even better because Henry.
My question to you is, you think 2 tight ends on the Patriots, Gesicki and Henry, and 2 tight ends. I mean, you already switched Conklin and Knox, but based on this list, you had the 2 tight ends on the Patriots and the 2 tight ends on the Bills. All 2 on each team have better seasons than Tyler Conklin. Both of those.
Yeah, different schematic, different schemes. So when you look at Buffalo, they're not trying to run the double tight end set, and if they do, they're not trying to make it as a weapon per se. They're probably going to try to have one of them being a better blocker on the play action and the other going out for the pass. In New England, both of those guys going to be in that secondary. And when you look at Mike Gesicki, stop looking at him as a tight end. And I already know where Pat's Global is going to go.
Yeah, you do.
So I'll let him go with it. He's going to be flexed outside more than you think. He's going to be in the slot more than you think. It's not going to be in line. Bill Belichick ain't going to be as dumb as the Dolphins. Bill Belichick already know he can't block. So let me stop acting like he can. He ain't no decoy. So he's going to go out there and be that big body, big hand, big leaping threat that Bill loves, like he had with Hernandez, Gronk, and all of those guys for the longest. And that's what they're trying to replicate. And Gesicki won't be those guys, but it'll be a good complement of what he used to have.
It's one thing I will say on this list, because I remember that TD was saying that last year our tight end play for the entire AFC East really wasn't that ideal. I think a lot of that has to be blamed on all of our offensive coordinators. Number one, I think Hunter Henry didn't have the season that he did was just because, A, you had a defensive-minded coach calling offensive plays in Matt Patricia. I think that this year might be a bit more favorable for him now that Bill O'Brien is taking over an actual offensive mind. Miami had two shiny toys at wide receiver, man, like speed on the outside. So hence why I think Gesicki was sort of phased out in that category, because why would you utilize somebody when 9 times out of 10, like you had at least 4 to 5 yards of separation on both of your receivers on the outside. And then as far as Dawson Knox, he wasn't implemented until last half of the season because Dorsey just didn't want to include him in any way, shape, or form that he was included when Dable was there. So I think that this list was equally hard to put together, but I think this year, I think not only will this tight end performance improve, but it's going to be laid on the place that I think that the offensive minded with the coordinators is going to improve as well. So I think this year is going to put the tight end position for the AFC East on the map just due to that.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
And before we get to Colby's list, I just want to ask TD, because obviously no one has a Dolphins player on their list here this entire video. So like I looked at the Dolphins tight ends and I was really trying to see what the heck is going on with them. So what's your thoughts of them, TD? Like Smythe, like do you have any optimistic views of him? Like what's your overall thoughts of the Dolphins tight end room?
Honestly, for what we're trying to do, we like our room. It's not what you have to understand about these guys. We're not looking for them to be a primary threat at any point, but they're actually productive. When they do get the ball, they catch it. They catch a lot of 4-yard passes. They go for 12. And like we've been saying, when you got those guys on the outside, when you have Tyreek and Waddle, those guys are open all day underneath, but that's going to be on Tua this year. There's some games where the check down with the tight end or the running back, they were always there, but we didn't take it all the time. So those guys' production can definitely improve, because I think that if Tua takes the next step as a quarterback, because his 2 years ago, he was the check down king in the NFL. You know, his accuracy in the under 10 yards, no one was better. Last year, no one was better on the deep ball. I don't know if y'all knew that. He was number 1 in the NFL on the deep ball with percentages and everything. But he was terrible under 10 yards. So now you just hope that he mirrors those things and he'll allow guys to eat all over the field. And if he can produce that this year, we're not worried about tight end, because we don't need them to be a primary threat. Like Buffalo, you got Diggs. Outside of that, you need contributions from 3 different guys, including the tight end. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with the Jets. Same thing with the Pats. You know, outside of your main receiver, you need contributions from 3 different guys to make a whole package. For us, Tyreek Hill go get 17, 1,800. Waddle go get 14, 1,500. That's y'all entire room production. You see what I'm saying? So we signed Cedric Wilson last year for $7 million a year. We were thinking of him as being the number 2. And then we traded for Tyreek, and we were like, oh, crap. And guess what? Our $7 million a year receiver, which you would hope a guy making $7 million is going to get you 500-600 yards, right? We're talking about a guy that basically got like 150 yards or something like that. I don't even remember at this point. So we're so top heavy, and as long as those guys stay healthy, we don't need
your depth at receivers now is all former Jets.
No, well, 2 of them probably won't make the roster.
Berrios and Chosen? Anderson? They're not going to make the roster?
I believe Anderson will make it. Berrios, that's going to be an interesting one. We don't know.
You don't
He'll
think
be a returner? He'll be a returner for you guys.
This is another question. This is another conversation to have, but there's a chance that Berrios doesn't make the roster?
There's a chance. I mean, do you see our wide receiver room?
Yeah, but like he has this role for special teams though. That's what
yeah, that's well, hold on now. Ain't no guarantees, but that's where you would think he would be because he has that.
He was an all-pro returner for us. That was last year. He stunk.
Well, I get,
but the year prior he was all-pro.
I guess here's the deal. It depends on how a guy like Eric Ezukama, a fourth-round pick last year, how he does. He was amazing in camp last year. He's already starting OTAs amazing, but the coaches still didn't give him the nod. They used that practice squad designation just to hold on. But just depending on how he does, if he elevates and upgrades to the next level, then it's going to be hard for Berrios. We got a lot of guys, Braylon Sanders, Eric Ezukama, these guys, if they beat him out, they beat him out. But Berrios has the edge due to special teams.
Yeah, and he's a little gadget guy that you can use. He's versatile. But let's get back into the tight ends. We had to hear from the Dolphins a little bit since they're not being
a little bit.
About
yeah, they're a little bit inactive. Yeah, they'll use your guys as blockers. That's all you guys need mostly at this point, like TD said.
Our guys catch the ball though.
Yeah, there you go. All right. My tight end rankings. So I want to start off here with Mike Gesicki. So as you can tell, these lists for the most part, maybe like minus one or two guys here and there, they're pretty much the same throughout the AFC East. We all kind of have a fair ranking. Probably the biggest difference is Richie, but you know what? If everybody had the same opinion, we'd be sitting here being bored, and this would be a 5-minute video of us saying, all right, yeah, sweet, see you later. But Mike Gesicki here, this dude is going to be used as a Swiss Army knife for the New England Patriots. TD, you love you some PFF. And let me ask you something. If you looked up Mike Gesicki right now, and he's a tight end, would this man have a blocking grade? No, he would not. This dude is a wide receiver playing tight end because of how big he is. The Patriots are still going to run 12 personnel. They're still going to run 2 tight end sets. Bill O'Brien loves to do that. They're going to kind of bring back that Aaron Hernandez, Gronkowski, 2 tight end sets, 12 personnel. Is it going to work out as well as those? No, and I'm not saying it's going to, but it's going to be the closest thing we've had since then. But they've already said that the New England Patriots do view Mike Gesicki as an extension to the wide receiver room, not an extension to the tight end room. And that kind of ties back into what I was saying about Hunter Henry, who I have number 2 on this list, is because he is your only well-rounded tight end from blocking to receiving. But also, if they're going to view Mike Gesicki as an extension to the wide receiver core, and they're going to say, have him out wide, they're going to have him as an X receiver, then you're really only utilizing pretty much one tight end. So I still think that is going to give production to Hunter Henry. I don't think that's going to really take away from Hunter Henry's production because Mike Gesicki is going to be used everywhere. He's going to be used as an inline tight end. Maybe they'll use him at slot at times, but they're mainly going to use him as an outside perimeter wide receiver. And the thing that we're kind of in Patriots world talking about with a Devontae Parker is, well, what do the Patriots do if he's injured? You have no outside 50-50 ball catcher. Well, you do, and it's Mike Gesicki who can play that X easily at 6'6". So, and there's a world in which we're hearing maybe Devontae Parker could be traded. I don't agree with it, but there's a world in which we're hearing that maybe a Patriots veteran wide receiver, if our rookies do perform well, one of those guys could be traded. And that just would prove even more that Mike Gesicki is an extension to the wide receiver room. Them not drafting a receiver high proves he's an extension to the wide receiver room. So I think he is going to go balls to the wall in terms of production, in terms of yards. He's already meeting with like Mac Jones. He actually, as soon as he is signed with the Patriots, he actually was staying in Mac Jones' basement for a little bit, which sounds a little bit weird, but he was actually staying with Mac Jones for a little while until he found a house. And him, Hunter Henry, and Mac Jones, I kind of, hate to say this because it makes it seem a little soft, but they all just went to the Taylor Swift concert 2 days in a row at Gillette Stadium. So you gotta love the connection that they're already building there. So damn. I love the potential here of Mike Gesicki because he's going to be utilized everywhere. As for Hunter Henry, like I already said, I'm not going to beat the bush too much. He's really their only tight end, and he's the best well-rounded tight end because Mike Gesicki can't block. So he's going to see the field a lot. He's still going to have a lot of production, and being in contract year, he's going to want to prove it. And with a guy that can actually utilize him, I think he's going to perform well. One more thing I will say, too, about Mike Gesicki is that, interestingly enough, Bill O'Brien, our new offensive coordinator, actually recruited him to Penn State back when Bill O'Brien was the head coach for Penn State. Now, they didn't exactly get to work together because Bill O'Brien was on his way out to be the head coach for the Texans when Mike Gesicki was coming in, but there is still some turnover, and he is still familiar with him, which I think gets the ball rolling even earlier for the Patriots. Now, number 3, I have Dalton Kincaid. He's a rookie. It's a little tough to put him high, but I think TD said earlier, I think it just kind of goes back to say what the tight end core looks like for the AFC East. Dalton Kincaid, however you want to rank this, arguably the best tight end in this draft class. I don't think he's going to be a great blocker. I don't think he's necessarily going to be utilized massively in that role. I think he's going to be a really good receiver. I think a couple years down the road from now, when we're talking about Dalton Kincaid, we're going to talk about how good he is as a receiver, not how good he is as a blocker. Maybe like a Mike Gesicki, right? So I think he's going to perform very well just in terms of, you look at what the Buffalo Bills have. They have Dawson Knox. And with Dawson Knox, to me, he's a little bit more of a red zone threat, try to put some touchdowns in the end zone and capitalize, a guy you go to on third down in a time of need. He's not a real receiving tight end to me. He's not a guy that's going to put up, 800 yards a season or more. He's not that type of tight end. And I think Dalton Kincaid coming in is going to take some of those snaps away, maybe not early on, but maybe second half of the season, take some of those snaps away. He's going to get utilized more in passing situations, and Dawson Knox is going to get more included in run blocking situations to try to get Damian Harris going. So that's why I have Dawson Knox a little bit lower. And after, Richie kind of talked to us about Conklin, I actually might even switch Conklin here with Dawson Knox because I think that production for Knox will go down now with Dalton Kincaid. But, you really I don't want to say only have Stephon Diggs because you have Gabe Davis, but you got rid of Isaiah McKenzie. You need a guy who's going to take some of that production away from Stephon Diggs because obviously if you're going to double team somebody on the Bills, it's going to be Stephon Diggs. So I think that he's going to have very good production for a rookie. Like I said, Dawson Knox kind of touched on him. As for Conklin, a guy who I'm really considering just moving up to 4 and putting Knox down to 5. He's a guy that I didn't know was as productive in terms of the receiving game for the Jets. I just remember him playing against the Patriots this past year, and he actually had pretty dang good production. He put up a couple of touchdowns. He put up, decent receiving yards. He's a guy that was actually productive against us. And, that's a tough thing to do. That stands out to me because we have the secondary. We have the safeties to be able to match up very well against tight ends. So when you're actually able to get production against us as a Patriots fan, it's something that stands out to me. So I think that, with Aaron Rodgers coming in, a guy who in Green Bay, they've tried over the last couple of years to give a tight end to, and it just hasn't worked out. He's a guy that does like his tight ends when he has somebody that he can actually work with. He's a pretty good run blocker, well-rounded tight end, and a guy that's going to help them in the receiving game too, especially early on, because I don't really think there's anybody on his heels in terms of the tight end game there in New York. So, it's New York, right? The New York Jets. We're not considering this New York Jersey,
Jets.
Right?
We're not going to get into this.
We're not going to get into this right now. It's a discussion we've had, a low key behind the walls. But those are kind of my rankings. You guys got any thoughts on those?
I do. Before we wrap things up, I have to say I'm glad that I can persuade some of you guys to change your lists because
you did good today, Richie.
Yeah, you did good.
Back-to-back videos, and the defensive line list saw some disrespect. I give my piece. You guys change your lists on the fly, and the same happens with the tight end room. So I appreciate you guys listening to me because I'm trying to give you some objective point of views here.
But you still know Tua was the best quarterback in the division last year.
I'll give you that one. Well, folks,
all right.
And that really wraps up the tight end room. This is This is probably the weakest link of the division, I'd say. But hey, it's still fun to talk about.
You know what? It was my favorite one to talk about though because we actually got some Patriots high on this list, and we got some respect. So
yeah, number one every list you had a Mike Gesicki. So congrats. You're only one for the series.
Guys, if we don't have anything else to say about the tight end list, then that is going to wrap up today's video for our rankings for the tight ends for the AFC East Roundtable. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Like I said earlier on, it goes such a long way. You might think that it just looks good, but no, it actually tells YouTube that you like this video and that they should suggest it to other people. So make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you guys do subscribe to the AFC East Roundtable for all of your AFC East news, breakdowns, a lot of great stuff coming for the season and, of course, the rest of the offseason also as we hit training camp and offseason programs. And make sure you do subscribe to our individual channels too because, hey, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. You're going to want to know what's going on with all 4 of our teams. But without further ado, we will catch you later. Signing off for the AFC East Roundtable. We will see you guys later.
Peace.
Josh Allen trash.